In today's episode of the Brains Byte Back podcast, we speak with Pablo Miller, CEO of Remoti, an end-to-end platform that allows companies to achieve their expansion needs through finding, hiring, retaining, and paying talent. In this episode, you will hear about Pablo's backstory, alongside the origin story of Remoti, and he also shares why he decided to create the company in Colombia. Additionally, you will also learn insights on how to hire talent quickly and effectively for your business. So make sure you stay tuned.
I'm the founder and CEO. My main role at this business is to, as we always said, is to keep the lights on, turn off the fires, and keep it all together. Remoti is a platform that allows companies to build technology hubs in Latin America. As I like to call it, we're a total talent platform in the sense that we offer free services. Number one, we connect you to the talent. Number two, we employ the talent for you. And then number three, we call it people products. Is that we're able to locally hire your talent folks, and we have a number of retention products to ensure a smooth onboarding, offboarding, and several retention plans. Alongside that, we'll be launching our app in the next coming months, which allow the whole recruitment process to be done through your telephone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for taking a break from putting out those fires and making sure those lights are kept on. And yeah, I really want to kick off with when and how did Remoti first start?
Amazing. So Remoti, that was formerly known as Fincrew, actually started in the UK 7 years ago. So I was brought up in the UK. I was at Nottingham University studying politics and sociology. And this was in 2008 when everyone hated the banks and the rise of fintech started rising. So I noticed that all these kind of small fintechs in London needed graduate salespeople. And from Nottingham University, we set up a very small recruitment company. When I was doing that, I noticed that all these cool fintech companies really didn't like recruiters. They thought that we were transactional. They thought that we were full of BS. We thought that we didn't actually understand the company culture. So I wanted to build a business that was a bit different. And the idea was actually to set up the company in the US. But then, my mother's from Armenia, Quindío, and I came on holiday to Colombia before I set up the business. And I saw something truly amazing happening in Latin America, which was first of all, the rise of second generation LATAM talent, both locally and the ones that have gone abroad to study or work in other companies and have come back. And secondly, the markets here were just ripe for innovation and for disruption. So I had one investor at the time, and I told him, instead of wiring the money to our Chase account in the US, can you wire it to our Bank Colombia account here in Bogota? And we set up the operation in Colombia, servicing US and UK clients. So we kind of trod along, working there for, for fintech clients, just operations here, but everything, was outside markets. And then the pandemic hit. And this is when everyone thought, okay, I don't need to hire locally. Latin America is a market with a lot of potential. Let's have a look at LATAM. And that's when Remoti was built, in the sense of being kind of the bridge between the West and LATAM. And that essentially has been now for the last 3 years.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say, yeah, I do completely understand what you mean when you talk about the potential here in Latin America. And I have to say as well that it's great to speak with you being based in Bogota, because I definitely do feel like there's an energy here, an energy within like the startup ecosystem, especially in Medellin and Bogota, that I really love. And it's so surprising to see. And most people might not think of that if they've not been down here, of like how much potential there is here. So it's so great to hear of this success story coming out from essentially my own back garden, really. Well, where I live anyway, at least, obviously not being from here myself. But I want to know, on a separate note, Remoti, like, how did what's the story behind that name? How did that come about?
Yeah, no, great question. And just to kind of supplement what you're saying, that, when people ask us, we've managed to scale a team, up to 70 people. And, we took very limited funding. And our secret sauce has always been our people. There's a great energy in this country, and, people want to work for companies where they're treated well, where they're respected. And therefore, this is why, when foreign companies look at Latin America and Colombia, it's a great place to start business. So when we changed the name from FinCrew, which was meant to be like a fintech recruitment, to Remoti, we wanted to give a real kind of remote work vibe. And secondly, because we're building a bunch of technology through our app, for our onboarding products, offboarding products, for our salary benchmark products, we wanted to obviously have the technology infrastructure. So really what Remoti stands for is remote technology infrastructure. And we get good feedback from our clients because it says exactly what we do, because ultimately, you can't just set up a remote team. Number one, you don't know how to hire, it's very hard to hire local people if you're based in the UK or China or whatever. And then to actually then hire them properly to ensure that their payroll, legal, taxes, HR are all done accordingly, and also to retain them. So that's where the name of kind of remote technology infrastructure come from, that if you want to just build a remote team, you just integrate our platform into your business and off you go.
That's nice. Yeah, it does have that real startup vibe. I can see that in the name, and I think it reflects well on what you do. And we've obviously spoken a lot about the company here, but I would love to know some more insights. So can you share like some insights on what companies have to do in order to secure top talent?
Yeah, so it's also quite an interesting topic, obviously, in the market that we're in. Last year, our key markets where we work a lot with fintech clients, we worked a lot with Web3 clients, and obviously with the down market, what we found is that we've now had to look at alternative markets to find growth in these tricky market conditions. So, we look at one market that's growing very, very fast for us is actually ERP implementation consultants. So these are folks that go into companies to implement, SAP, Salesforce, Workday, and traditionally you'd have to hire someone locally. And what these big institutions, have found that it actually makes sense to have some folks based in Argentina, based in Cali or Bogota, and they can start implementing, literally from here, and it's a remote role. So for us, we're very easy to work with in the sense that we find a client, they tell us what their needs are. We then tell them exactly where we believe in the region there could be that talent pool. We conduct salary benchmark reports, so that we're in contact with finance to ensure that it's in conjunction with them. We then assign a full team, and that team, our slogan is kind of quality at pace. That team works, full time for that assignment, and then we'll be able to deliver results very, very quickly to the highest quality to our clients.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like you all got it very nailed down, and I'm so happy to see that there's so much innovation in this space, because I think remote work really does feel like it's here to stay. And as someone that feels the benefits of this, and I know so many other people have as well, it's so exciting to see it just flourish. Really, the benefits of this are just, I think, so profound that it's great to see that you're working and innovating in this space to make sure it prevails. Really.
Absolutely, and I think one of the key things, and it's a bit, kind of my story, that my mother was from Armenia. She traveled to the UK when my dad was English, and we were very fortunate that we went to good schools, good universities. We learned how to communicate well, and that obviously gave us a lot of opportunity, for me and my sister when it came to jobs. So really, what my vision with remote work is that I want to get that kind of untouched talent of Latin America that has all that potential. We want to help them connect with companies that locally may not be able to, pay them as well, may not be able to develop them as well, may not be able to give them the opportunities. And so there's a wonderful kind of social mobility angle to the rise of remote work.
Yeah, breaking down borders. That is such a wonderful side effect of this remote work digital world. That I can see here, and I also have to say, I've seen on your blog that you have a post titled "How to Recruit Fast: 6 Practical Strategies to Hire Quickly." Now, I would definitely recommend listeners go and check that out. But while I have you here, Pablo, I would love to cover a few insights that you can share based on this article, as well as your own knowledge, and how our listeners can hire quickly and effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key things that, obviously to supplement the title, is that you've got to think internationally, but at the same time, think regionalistic. So as being, based in Medellin, someone from Medellin is very different to someone in Bogota. So therefore, as a business, you need to understand the differences of what particularly those, particular people and particular geographical candidates will like in terms of benefits, the way they want to work. Some people want to work hybrid, some people want to work remote. Number two, you need to be able to give them access to upskill courses locally as well. If we look at hiring someone in Europe, maybe they're not that interested in having English courses, for example, as opposed to candidates in Latin America. And number three, you need to obviously be open-minded and not be kind of judgmental about universities, etc. Always look at the output of what these candidates achieve. So if a candidate's worked for an incredible local startup and done great work, they should not be discounted if they haven't been to Harvard or Stanford. So it's very important to have these sort of mindsets when looking at hiring internationally.
I think that's some solid advice there. And I think, yeah, it can be surprising just how much of a difference there can be when it comes to even small distances, like you mentioned there, Medellin and Bogota. And I think you can find that across many countries. And I do want to know, like, are there other companies operating in this space? And if so, how do you differentiate yourself from the competition?
Great question. So I think HR tech is certainly a crowded space. And number two, I think there's a lot of companies now saying, oh, I can help you find talent in Latin America, it's cheap, etc. I think you've got to be very cautious about this in the sense that there are certain companies that are trying to just sell Latin America for the the economic sense. But really, what Latin America is very interesting is that it's a great example of the modern workforce. The folks that are developers here, they're not the ones that have been building databases in a bank for about 30 years. It's that kind of millennial developer that's self-taught, that's worked for startups. And so where we differentiate is that we have access to the modern workforce that can build modern digital products. And secondly, as we've been focusing more on corporate clients. Corporate clients hate finding up new suppliers for everything. So given that we're a total talent platform that have free essential services from finding to hiring to retaining talent, it means that clients can just, from one provider, solve the whole kind of, building a foreign team. So when I look at competitors like On Top, fabulous business, great founders, but they just offer the payroll solutions. They don't offer retention products. They also don't offer talent scout. And then obviously Deal, who were one of the pioneers in this amazing, payroll business. They had a lot of tailwind, when the pandemic hit, got great technology. They're solely, really just focused on the payments and payroll side. So really, if you don't have the candidates or if you don't retain the candidates, it's hard to offer them payroll. So this is where I think Remoti fits in well, that we can offer all free services, but most importantly, we have access to the modern workforce and we have tools in order to, retain them and also to attract them into your business.
That makes a lot of sense. I can see that. And I do like the idea that this modern world that we have is more of a meritocracy. It matters less where you are and just more about your skills and your ability. And I think that that's really important because I really dislike the fact that so much is dictated by where you're born. And I think that when job opportunities are open to everyone in the world, that just feels like, it's more of a meritocracy the way it should be. And now really my last question to you folks is like, what's next on the horizon? What you folks are prioritizing there at Remoti?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So at the moment, as I mentioned, we'll be launching our app, and our app is super interesting because, like most problems in life, most problems are caused by, bad communication. So our industry has a very bad reputation for candidates not being given proper feedback, or candidates not being fully prepared, or candidates not being rejected properly. So we've built a communication tool where candidates can download our app and they seamlessly go through the whole recruitment process, and all the communication between the candidate, the client, and the recruiter is in one place. Number two, in terms of the payroll, the digital wallet will be in the app, so they can track their payments. They can also track when they're going to be paid. And number three, we'll be building a marketplace where there's going to be upsell, in the sense of like, we're going to be offering our community of developer language courses and also development courses. So really in one place, you'd be able to find a job, you'd be able to grow financially. And number three, you'd be able to upskill So essentially, we're digitalizing this community and helping them, regardless of where you are in Latin America, to find a great job, be paid accordingly, and also to be upskilling. And that is really what our passion is for the modern workforce.
Awesome, fantastic. Well, if people are listening and they want to keep up with the work that you folks are doing, Pablo, what's the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely. So we have obviously our, the main channels. We have LinkedIn. We also have Instagram. We have Facebook, and also on our website. We also have 2 offices, one in Bogota and Medellin. So anyone get up and coming in for a coffee, we'd be delighted to host them. And from candidates to clients, we have an open door policy, and always very happy to meet you virtually or meet you in person.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck with the work that you folks are doing. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure having you on today, Pablo.
Thank you so much, Sam, and I wish you guys all the best as well.
Growing a company has many hurdles, from securing funding to expanding your business capabilities to ranking better on search. Each business challenge is uniquely complex. The solution to these challenges is growth-focused digital PR and marketing, and that is where our sponsor, Publicize, comes in. Publicize sets itself apart from traditional PR companies. It does not charge large retainers or churns out press releases whether you've got a newsworthy announcement or not. Publicize builds businesses' online presence and gets high-quality PR and media coverage for startups and entrepreneurs who are priced out of a broken PR industry. What's more, listeners of Brains Byte Back can find the tools and resources they need to overcome common hurdles that many startups face when trying to generate long-term growth by visiting publicize.co/BBB. That's publicize.co/BBB. That is it for today's episode. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've learned something, and if you have benefited from today's episode, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, as these reviews really help us grow the show. You can also follow us wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Just search Brains Byte Back and you will find us. We hope you join us for more episodes in the future, and until then, take care.